Hey, Daniel here. I'm trying something different with these drone videos and doing the voiceover instead of music with it, so let me know how you like it. So what we're doing here is flying over the burned out clear cut from the 2620 road fire that happened in August of 2024 on Mount Jupiter in Brinnon, Washington. And this was about 500 acres and close to $1 million in timber that was burned up between what's laying on the ground and reprod. This is DNR ground, borders Rayonier, and DNR did a formal investigation on this and found that the logger is not at fault. I'll fly over the area where the fire started. They can't find what the ignition source was and couldn't exactly pinpoint where it started, but I'll go into detail on that later. There's about 5 skyline roads left, is what I was told. We're flying up on the heartbeat of the operation here. It's a Skagit BU 739, and there's a Bowman Skycar sitting at the edge of the landing. When I took this video, Mason, the owner, was on his way down to get a Eagle 4 carriage. It's a little bit lighter than this Bowman. Figured it would help him with lift because they got some hogbacks back there they're working with. And you'll see this yarder was sitting in Alaska. At one point, Crown Alaska Inc. owned it. Gary Clapshaw of A1 Timber owned it, and sadly he died. It sat up there for quite a while. Andy Anderson from the Arlington area bought it. And I'm not sure if Andy just purchased it to resell or if he had plans to use it, but he brought it down from Alaska and the tube was off of it. He was doing some work to the steering and the fuel tank. It had been damaged in transit. And you'll see in a minute the Skagit. It's got Washington Ironworks colored tank there. So not sure what that's about, but it's a good machine. Mason really likes it. I had heard, and I don't know what the whole story is, but he had come down from Alaska and had a substantial amount of work done to the carrier and drums and everything. And I don't know who all the owners were. I think this machine was built in 1980 or 83. I can't remember now. I took some pictures of the tags, but they're floating around my computer somewhere. This was moved down here by Mike Hogan. He brought the carrier, and then Richie Rector brought the tube down. The carrier was a pain in the rear because the guys got going, and it had brand new tread on it, but it was forklift tread. And Mason said between Darrington and I think the 405 interchange there, they did like 13 tires on this. The forklift tires started to shred on the freeway, and then he ended up getting tires from his dad that were mounted on wheels, and there was something wrong with those. I don't know, there's something about the air pressure that wasn't right, and then they blew out, and he bought some tires from a guy up north further, and it was a debacle. But they got it down here and put it together, and here it sits. In the background, there's the Hood Canal. And then right there behind the tube is the Black Point, where the resort is going to be here. Just to the right of the boom, at the edge of the landing there on the other side of the yarder, that's where I filmed Mason on the D9 pushing the fire brake. This was a pretty scary ordeal. So I was the first one to call in the fire. I noticed it at like a little before 5 o'clock in the evening, and it looked like a wisp of smoke from a dozer with like a couple bad injectors, and called Mason up and asked him if they were still working. he said no. Anyway, I ended up driving up the road further on Duckabush Road and took some pictures, and ended up flying my drone like a half hour later and took some photos of the clear cut. And then about 6 o'clock, I went up to the landing with Mason and his dad, Don, and helped them toss some of the log decks to the side so that Mason could push the landing out, and then knock the guy line loose off the D9 so he could push around the landing and move some equipment out of the way. And I finally left at like 9:15 that night. And as I was leaving, just up to the left of this frame here, that part of the road, there was flames coming up over the road. It was pretty spooky. Yeah, hopefully I don't have to ever relive that again. It was a pretty hairy ordeal. But I submitted those photos to the DNR. They used them for their investigation. I was glad to be a part of that and be able to help out in that way. And glad that Mason was exonerated from having any fault with this. And where the fire started, there was no rig and blocks or anything back there that would actually cause a spark. So that, yeah, it's good. Anyway, to the left of this frame on that road is where the landing was at, that his Medill 071 burned up. The guy lines on the Skagit, and a pretty good amount of skyline from the Skagit. Oh, as well as like guy line and skyline extensions on this little straightaway down here on the right were casualties from that fire. I never would have guessed the fire would go up the valley and then uphill that far, but it reached the Medill. It was sitting on a brush pile landing, basically, and the Medill caught on fire and it burned. Not super bad, like it was salvageable, but then it reignited again, and then it was basically just a paperweight at that point. So it was a total bummer. And when these guys, this is S&W logging out of like the Enumclaw area. They're doing all this steep stuff here, and you see they had a little incident off the edge of their landing. It's a bummer. Yeah, they've got a Summit swing yarder up there. They're grapple yarding, and they have these LS855 leveling shovels, and then they got some tethered bunchers, and they're doing some serious shovel logging up there and grapple yard, and it's off the hook. And down there in the corner of this frame, that straightaway is where the guy line extensions and the skyline extensions were sitting. The fire jumped the road and burned right through the guts of it and ruined those. And right here on the corner where the road wise, that's the tube for the Medill. The carrier drum set and all that is out at Mason's place, and the cab and the tube obviously still sitting here. So yeah, this is what's going on. I'm hoping to get back up here sometime and get some video of the Skagit yard and logs. I've been wanting to do that for a while and just hasn't quite come to fruition. So here in just about the corner of the screen now is going along the cutting line. And you can see that scrubby stuff over to the left is like old clear cut from like 2012-ish. And the fire started down here, like right about the corner of the frame, right about in there is where the fire started. And so, yeah, anyway, there's a little access road below that goes up into the back end, and there's been speculation that there was arson, just because of the nature of the fire and where it started at, and being that there was nothing back there that could have started it. So yeah, to the right there, that was the second place I ever hauled logs as an independent log hauler, and then above that unit is where Dave Edwards logged. He had a TTY 70. They did a lot of that as an uphill piece, but then they had a downhill piece that they did with it. And unfortunately, Mount Jupiter sounded like it kind of broke him. He sold off his equipment after this job, and that was it. It was a horrible job. And a lot of people that have logged Mount Jupiter have not done well up here. Dave's downhill was in the upper right-hand corner of the screen practically. They had the Bowman on and were using butt rigging and had the haulback pulling the butt rigging out. And yeah, it was just bad. They're ground pounding. Upper left-hand corner of that unit is to the far, far left is where the Medill sat. You can see what's left there to log. It's pretty tough logging. And then there's a diamond shape unit just to the right of where S&W is at. And funny story there. So Acme Brothers Logging out of Deming, they logged the green timber, or what's now reprod, just up to the right of where Dave Edwards was logging. They did that back in 06 or 07. They had a BU-84C, that stuff that's kind of upper right-hand corner edge of that burned out unit stuff. And the yarder was like Spolstra Brothers or something is who had it before them. And then they went belly up working on Mount Jupiter. They had a horrible downhill they had to deal with. And so I heard the yarder went back to the bank. I don't know all the details with that, but then it ended up in an iron dealer down south, and like around the Centralia area. And then Bauer Logging bought it, and they logged in Brinnon with it for a while, and they went up on Mount Jupiter and did 2 years with it up there. And both times I worked under that machine a little bit, and it was pretty neat to be a part of that on the same mountain side. I went up there for a day and helped the Acme Brothers crew rig up, and then helped Bowers rig that machine up as well. And yeah, it was pretty neat. Anyway, that's that diamond shaped piece up behind the yarder, just right now it's coming into view. So anyhow, yeah, Larry Hesacker down in Oregon owns that BU-84 now. You see what S&W is doing back there. These guys move a lot of timber. Pan back down over the Duckabush Valley. That machine I'm flying over, it's actually behind the drone now, but it was one of the guy line anchors. Mason was using that. It's his Yoder, further up the valley on a different unit. Yeah, anyhow, so this is it. This 2620 Road Fire unit, and I've got some pictures that I'm going to include on the end here. So hopefully that's something you will enjoy seeing. And they should be coming up very, very soon. Right in the center of the screen down there in the bottom, that little opening, that's where my pickup truck is parked. So this first picture, there you go. That's the second picture I took of the smoke. Here's the first one. Looks like a smoking dozer. And that fire, it was the size of a trash can. I could have gone up there and put it out myself. That's a half hour later. This is almost 2 hours later. And this is like 8:15, somewhere in there. This is Yeah, this is like 8:30, I think. And this is closer to 9. DNR told us not to engage with the fire, and so we didn't screw with it, and it got out of hand pretty quick. There's Mason's dad, Don. This is pretty close to when I left. That's 9:15, and where the flames are shooting up, that's where the road is that I just went through. That's like 9:20 at night, or sorry, 11:20 at night. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy.